paper he never threw away to Armas stood by the window of her small rented apartment in Los Angeles. The morning light stretched across the floor like a soft sheet, but her eyes were fixed on something far away. She held a cup of tea in her hands, but it had gone cold. The phone on the counter vibrated again. It had been buzzing for the past hour. Messages, missed calls, invitations she no longer had the heart to accept. Her name was still on billboards. Her face still smiled from posters. But inside, something felt broken, and something she didn't tell anyone. The last few months had been a blur of lights, applause, and cameras. But the truth was, Anna hadn't really felt anything since that one film. The one that never got made. The one she and Keanu Reeves had worked on quietly during lockdown when everything else had stopped. It wasn't a big studio project. It was something personal, something raw and messy and real. They had written parts of it together, laid into the night, laughing, arguing, pouring heart into every scene. But in the end, funding had fallen through. The film was shelved, and with it a piece of her heart had gone silent. She hadn't talked to Keanu much since then. They both moved on to other projects. That was how Hollywood worked. Always. The next thing. Always forward. But something about that script, that story, stayed with her. Sometimes she dreamed about it. Sometimes she wondered if he still remembered. Anna walked over to the stack of books by her bed. The script wasn't. There, she had thrown her copy away in a moment of frustration. It felt like failure. She hadn't expected anything from it, but still, the silence after it was canceled had hurt more than she wanted to admit. And then, on a quiet Wednesday afternoon, her phone buzzed again. This time, it was a message that made her freeze. "Hey, are you free for coffee this week? I have something to give you." It was from Keanu, no explanation. No emojis, just simple words. His style, respectful, calm. Anna didn't reply right away. Her fingers hovered over the screen. Her heart beat faster. And for a moment she felt like the girl who had just arrived in Los Angeles years ago, unsure, nervous, full of hope and fear at the same time. By the next day she had said yes. They met at a small place in Silver Lake. Not the kind of cafe where actors usually go to be seen. It was quiet, old, with worn leather booths and warm lighting. She spotted him sitting by the corner window, a black hoodie, simple jeans, no fanfare. He looked up and smiled the way only Keanu could, not wide, not forced, it's just honest. "Hey," he said softly. Anna sat down. Her hands trembled slightly. He noticed, of course, but said nothing. They talked for a while about meaningless things. Traffic, new films, whether it felt like they were dancing around something heavier. Something they both knew was still there but didn't know how to name. Then he reached into his bag. "I was cleaning out some old boxes," he said, his voice quiet, "and I found this." He placed a thick stack of papers on the table. She looked down. It was the script her breath caught in her chest. Not just a copy, her copy. Her handwritten notes were still in the margins, lines scratched out, scenes rewritten, little coffee stain near the middle. "You kept it?" Whispered. He nodded. "I didn't want to throw it away," he said. "I thought, ... maybe someday you'd want it back." She touched the pages like they were fragile glass. Her eyes filled with tears before she could stop them. She had tried to forget this script, tried to bury the disappointment. But seeing it here, in his hands, brought everything back. Not just the story, but the nights they had spent believing in something beautiful. Something real. Keanu didn't. "Look away, you weren't just good in it," he said. "You were honest. Raw, it felt like. Like the most true version of you." Anna shook her head, blinking quickly. "But no one ever saw it," she said. He leaned forward. "I did." Those two words broke something open in her. She didn't cry loudly, she didn't make a scene, but the silence between them was heavy and kind. And full of things that didn't need to be said out loud. They sat there for a long time. Then Keanu said something that changed everything. "I've been thinking about it again. The script, the scenes, I never stopped." Anna looked at him, surprised. Continued. "What if we do it again? Not for the studios, not for the headlines, just us. Just the story." She didn't know what to say. Her heart wanted to say yes, but fear held her back. "But it failed," she whispered. "We failed." Keanu shook his head. It didn't fail. It just paused. Maybe now is the time. Anna held the script in her lap. It was heavier than she remembered. Heavier with memory, with love, the weight of something unfinished. Her fingers curled around the edge of the paper, and for the first time in a long time, she felt something real move inside her. Hope. The spark between the Pagasana walked home that evening with the script pressed tightly to her chest. It was strange how a stack of paper could feel like a heartbeat. Every step she took, it felt like something was waking up inside her. Memories flooded in, the first table read they did. It's the way they had rewritten one scene 5 times, laughing and arguing, each of them pushing to make it more honest. It's the quiet nights when the world was shut down, and the only thing that mattered was the words on those pages. But now, it wasn't just about the past. It was about something more. Keanu had seen something in it still, and that meant maybe she wasn't wrong to have loved it as much as she did. When she reached her apartment, she didn't turn on the lights. She sat by the window again, the fading sunlight brushing her face. She opened the script slowly, like opening a letter from someone who once loved her. And as she read, she started to see the scenes again, not just in her head, but in her bones. She could feel the emotion, the tension, the softness, the truth. Her phone buzzed again. It was Keanu, still reading. She smiled, typed back. "Yes, I can't stop." There was a pause. Then another message came. "Good, because I have an idea." ***. The next morning, Keanu picked her up in a quiet gray sedan. He didn't say where they were going, just smiled and told her to bring the script. They drove out of the city, the traffic thinning as the buildings gave way to hills and trees. Anna glanced at him as he drove. He was calm, focused, but there was a light in his eyes she hadn't seen in a long time. Finally, they pulled up to a small old building tucked into a grove of trees. It looked abandoned, the windows dusty, the paint peeling. Anna stepped out of the car slowly, unsure. What is this place? Keanu walked toward the door. "This," he said, "is where I think we start again." Inside, it was a mess, broken chairs, old furniture, cobwebs in the corners. But there was a wide-open room in the back, with tall windows and wooden floors. It had once been a small theater. "I used to rehearse here, years ago," he said before everything got big, before it all got loud. "This is where I remembered what acting was really about." Anna turned in a slow circle, looking around. Was silent, still, almost sacred. "You want to rehearse here?" she asked. "Yes, just us. No lights, no cameras. Just the words." Anna nodded slowly. Her heart was already saying yes, even before her voice caught up. ***. They came back the next day and the day after. They brought their scripts and water bottles and notebooks. No makeup, no mirrors. Just sweatpants and messy hair and truth. They started from the beginning. Scene 1. The airport. 2 strangers sitting side by side. Anna read his lines with that quiet fire he always had. Calm, but powerful. Anna stumbled at first, unsure. But he didn't rush her. He let her take her time. When she forgot a line, he smiled. When she broke down crying mid-scene, he waited, and little by little, the fear began to fade. ***. On the 5th day, something shifted. They were working on the scene, where her character finally tells the truth about her father. It was one of the most personal scenes in the script. Anna had written most of it herself, late one night when she couldn't sleep. As she read the lines aloud, something cracked in her voice. She stopped, tried again, but her throat closed up. She looked at Keanu, eyes full of apology. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I thought I could do it." He stood up, walked across the room, sat on the floor in front of her. "You don't have to do it alone," he said. And then he did something that broke her open. He took her hand. No words, just that. And suddenly the tears came. The script, not from the scene, but from her. All the months of silence, all the disappointment, all the pretending. Keanu didn't move. He just stayed there, letting her cry. When she finally looked up, her voice was different, soft, real. "I want to finish it," she said. "I want to make this story real." He nodded once. "We will." Later that night, Anna opened her laptop. She hadn't opened the script file in over a year. But now, her fingers moved fast. She rewrote the final scene. Not to fix it, not to perfect it, but to make it hers again. She emailed the new pages to Keanu. He replied within 10 minutes. "Beautiful. Let's try it tomorrow." And just like that, the fire was back. Unfinished scenes and quiet storms met again early the next morning. The sky was gray and soft rain was falling as Anna stepped into the theater. The sound of raindrops on the roof echoed gently, almost like background music. Was already there, standing near the back wall with his hands in his pockets, watching the stage with a look that felt distant and close all at once. Anna walked in slowly. No makeup, no pressure, just her and the story. "You read the new ending?" she asked. He turned to her and nodded. "Double quotes? I read it 3 times, he said. It felt like the truth. She smiled. She didn't need him to say more. His words always carried weight because they came from a place of silence. It's not noise. They took their places on the floor again, with scripts spread out and highlighters tossed between them. The room was quiet except for the rain. And then they began. The new ending was raw. The 2 characters, hers and his, finally sat together in an empty diner after a year of running away from their own pain. It was just 10 lines of dialogue, no action, no drama, just words spoken gently between sips of coffee. But as they read through it, Anna felt something in her chest. The way he looked at her during his lines, it wasn't performance. It wasn't acting. It was something else. Something grounded. Something real. Halfway through the scene, she dropped her script and let the words come without reading. "You don't have to carry it alone," she said, her voice trembling. "I see you. Even when you don't want to be seen." Keanu didn't break eye contact. His next line came without hesitation. "I've spent my life hiding behind silence. You made it loud again." And with that, the scene ended. But the silence that followed was deeper than before. Anna sat back slowly, her throat tight. "Do you think people will understand it?" she asked quietly. Keanu looked down at the pages in his lap. "They don't have to," he said. "We just have to tell it honestly." Outside, the rain picked up. Inside, they stayed and worked. Sometimes they didn't even speak. They just moved around each other, writing, pacing, editing, like they had fallen into a rhythm that didn't need explanation. But there was something else building too. Anna felt it first. Attention. Not fear, not desire. Something in between. Like standing near a storm that hasn't broken yet. Keanu didn't say anything. Sometimes he would look at her for a little too long. Sometimes his hand would brush hers when they reached for the same pen, and neither of them would pull back right away. One afternoon, while rehearsing a scene, Anna stopped midway through and said quietly, "This part. I think we wrote it before we knew what it meant." Keanu tilted his head. "What do you mean?" She looked at him, eyes soft. "The way these characters talk to each other. It's not just fiction anymore." He didn't answer. Not at first, then. He said something that surprised her, I know. They didn't talk about it again. Not directly. Instead, they kept working. Scene by scene. Word by word, and the script began to change. Not just in structure, but in soul. They added new scenes. They took out old ones. They made the story simpler, more vulnerable. And then one evening, Keanu arrived carrying a small old camera. "What's that?" Anna asked. "Just a basic video cam," he said. "Thought we could record a few scenes? Not to show anyone, just to see how it feels." They set it up at the back of the room, pressed record. No lights, no costumes, on the floor. Scripts in hand. The first take was rough. Anna laughed through half of it. The second was better. By the third, they had stopped performing and started living inside the scene. When they watched it back on the tiny screen, Anna went quiet. The camera was shaky. The sound was bad. But the emotion real. untouched. This, she said softly. This is what we were trying to do from the beginning. Keanu didn't say anything, just placed the camera back in its bag carefully, like it held something sacred. Later that night, she got another message from him. There's something else I've been meaning to tell you, she replied. What? His answer came slow. When the project first got canceled, I blamed myself. I thought maybe I wasn't enough. Maybe the story didn't matter, but I kept the script. Because it reminded me of a time when something did matter. Anna stared at the message for a long time. Then she typed, "Me too, asterisk. The next day they filmed again. And this time, when her character reached out to touch his hand in the scene, Anna didn't have to pretend she meant it. The scene they never planned it was a Thursday when Anna arrived to find Keanu already inside the old theater, standing near the dusty window with his arms crossed, watching the light drift through broken glass. He looked like he'd been thinking for hours. When he turned to her, his face was calm but different, like something had shifted. I had a dream last night, he said quietly. Anna tilted her head, curious. We were shooting the film, he continued. The diner scene. But it wasn't a set. It was real. You were sitting across from me, just like we rehearsed. And right before the final line, you said something that wasn't in the script. What did I say? She asked. Keanu looked down. You said, I loved you before the story ever began. The words hit her like a breath she forgot to take. Her hands gripped the edge of the seat. She didn't speak right away. Then softly she said, I don't remember writing that. You didn't, he said, but it felt true. Asterisk. They started rehearsal like normal. But nothing about that. Day felt normal. They filmed the beach scene next to characters walking by the ocean, not talking, just feeling. They played it barefoot on the wooden floor of the old theater, using sound from a phone to play soft ocean waves in the background. Anna smiled when Keanu handed her a towel, pretending it had just come from the water. Small things. Weren't trying to impress anyone. They were trying to feel something real again. After 3 takes, they sat on the stage floor, back against the wall. She sipped water. He stared at the ceiling. Then she asked the question she hadn't dared. Until now, what if we finish it? Keanu turned slowly. The film, he asked. She nodded. For real, not just rehearsals, not just practice. I mean, really finish it, shoot it, even if no one buys it, even if no one ever sees it. Keanu didn't answer right away. Then he said, we'd need help. We have friends, Anna said. Quiet ones. The ones who do it for the art, not the cameras. He thought about it. Really thought, I might know someone who still has access to the old editing suite downtown. She used to owe me a favor. Anna smiled. Then maybe she's about to return it. They both laughed. But deep down they knew this wasn't a joke anymore. Asterisk over the next week. Something unexpected happened. Anna reached out to 2 independent cinematographers she had worked with before. Both said yes before she even finished. Explaining, Keanu made a quiet call to an old friend who had an empty sound studio. You owe me nothing, Keanu said. But if you still believe in story, come. The man showed up 2 days later with a truck full of gear. Word spread slowly, but the right people heard. Not producers, not press, just artists. People who missed truth. Asterisk, one night. After a long rehearsal, Anna stayed behind. She was packing her things when she saw Keanu still sitting at the far end of the theater, flipping through the original script. You're still here? She asked. He looked up. Double quotes. I was just reading the old notes. Find anything interesting? She teased. He smiled faintly. Yeah, something you wrote on the back of the last page. He turned the script and held it out to her. Her eyes scanned the handwriting. She had forgotten about it. 3 simple lines written months ago during one of their hardest days. If this is all we have, and it never reaches a screen, I hope we still remember how it made us feel. Anna's eyes filled with quiet tears. I meant that, she said. So did I, Keanu replied. They stood there for a long time, surrounded by silence. Then Anna asked the question that had been building inside her chest. Why did you really keep it, the script? Keanu looked at her gently, because even when everything else faded, this felt honest. Because it came from you. Asterisk Asterisk. The next morning. She arrived early, before the crew, before the lights, before Keanu. She unlocked the door to the old theater and walked in alone. She stood in the middle of the room, a script in her hand, and whispered to the empty air. "We're doing this? Asterisk, asterisk." That afternoon, they filmed the hardest scene of the entire story, the goodbye. Two characters standing in a train station, one leaving, one staying. No promises, no big speeches, just stillness. Just truth. Anna stood there in her worn sweater, eyes searching Keanu's face. "I don't want you to disappear," she said, her voice breaking. "Then don't look away," he answered. The camera rolled. No one breathed. They held the moment so long the room forgot it was a scene. Then Keanu whispered, "Cut." But no one moved. Anna's eyes were still full. Not from acting, from memory, from feeling. Asterisk, asterisk. After everyone left, Keanu stayed back to pack the camera. Anna walked over. "That scene," she said, "wasn't in the original version." He looked up, double quotes, "No. But it should have been." She nodded. It felt like closure. He paused and said, "Or maybe a beginning." When the screen stayed dark, they were only 3 scenes away from finishing 3. But that morning, the theater was locked when Anna arrived. She stood outside for several minutes, holding her script, confused. Keanu was never late. He was always the first one there, lights already on, camera batteries charging. Water bottles lined up like quiet soldiers. She called once, no answer. Twice, nothing. Her mind raced. Was he sick? Had he changed his mind? Had something happened? She paced the sidewalk outside for 20 minutes before a small text finally came through. "I need some time." That was all it said. No explanation, no place, no voice. Anna stared at the screen for a long time, her heart sinking slowly. The quiet between them had never felt so loud. At worst, it reminded her of before, when things ended the first time. When silence replaced hope and the script became a ghost on a shelf. She didn't know what to do, so she went home. She didn't turn on the lights. She didn't open the script. She just sat on the floor with her back against the wall and tried not to feel anything. But she did everything. Asterisk, asterisk. 2 days passed. No word. 3 days. Still silence. On the 4th morning, she opened her email and found a message with no subject. It was from Keanu. Inside was a short note. "This isn't me walking away, I promise. I just needed to face something before I could come back. Will you meet me tomorrow? Same cafe? Sean was Shirdan." Anna didn't reply. She just showed up. Asterisk, asterisk. He was already there, of course. Sitting in the same booth, wearing the same old hoodie, a black notebook in front of him, and a tired look in his eyes. When Anna sat down, he looked up and gave a small smile. "Thank you for coming," he said. She waited. Then he said something she didn't expect. "When we first started working on this again, I thought I was doing it for you. For the story, for the memory of something we didn't finish. But something's been happening inside me, and I didn't know how to talk about it." Anna didn't interrupt. She let the silence hold him. He continued. "That script," it reminded me of everything I've avoided for years, the pain I pushed down, the things I never said, the people I never said them to. When I read your words, your character's honesty, it made me see how much of myself I've been hiding." Anna's chest tightened. "You don't have to hide with me," she said softly. He looked at her then, really looked. "I know." Why, it scared me. Anna reached across the table and placed her hand over his. "You don't need to be perfect in this story, just honest." Keanu's fingers curled around hers. "Then let's finish it," he said. Asterisk, asterisk. They returned to the theater the next day. Something had changed. Not in the script, not in the lighting, but in the way they moved around each other. The tension was still there, but it wasn't fragile anymore. It was strong, solid, like trust built brick by brick. Scene by scene, they filmed the second-to-last scene that afternoon. A simple conversation between two people sitting on the floor of a small apartment, eating cold noodles and laughing about the mistakes they made. It was written in the early days of their script, when hope was still bright in the characters. You didn't know how it would end. Anna played it beautifully. Natural, open. But when Keanu delivered his final line of the scene, everyone went silent. "Never wanted to fix you," he said. "Just wanted you to know you weren't alone." Anna didn't break character because, for the first time, it didn't feel like she was acting. She looked at him, tears in her eyes, and whispered, "Thank you." Keanu blinked. They hadn't rehearsed that line, but it stayed in the final cut. Asterisk, asterisk, afterward. The small crew clapped. Quiet, respectful. Anna and Keanu stepped off set, their bodies tired, their hearts full. "One more scene," she said. Keanu nodded. "The final one?" "Tomorrow," she said. He looked at her and said, "Yes, tomorrow."
Asterisk.
Asterisk, that night, she couldn't sleep. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The script clutched against her chest like it might float away if she let go. The story was about to end, but it didn't feel like an ending. It felt like something beginning. Asterisk, asterisk, early the next morning. Keanu showed up at the theater with a small surprise. He handed Anna a new script cover. Her name was on it. Hers alone. She looked at him, confused. "Why? Just me?" "Because this was your voice," he said. "I just helped hold the light." Anna didn't know what to say, so she hugged him tight. Long, no words, just gratitude. Asterisk, asterisk. They were ready. The final scene was simple. No big lights, no loud music, just two. Characters standing on a rooftop, the city below them, the sun rising behind them. They would say goodbye in the story, but Anna knew she wasn't saying goodbye to this script. She was saying hello to herself, to something she never thought she'd find again. The light they didn't expect, sun, had barely risen when the final scene began. There were no spotlights, no extras, no loud set calls. Just Keanu, Anna, and two crew members with handheld cameras. They had chosen the rooftop carefully, an old building with a view of the Los Angeles skyline. It wasn't perfect, but that was the point. Neither were they. Anna stood at the edge, wrapped in a faded coat, the breeze playing with her hair. Keanu stood a few feet away, his face calm, yet filled with something that felt almost sacred. Between them sat the final 2 pages of the script. They didn't rehearse. They didn't need to. Anna took a deep breath. Her heart wasn't racing this time. It was steady, full. She looked at him. "I always thought this story would end in silence," she said, her voice soft. "But I hear you now." Keanu stepped closer, holding her gaze. "Maybe silence isn't the end," he said. "Maybe it's the beginning of what we never dared to say." Anna's eyes filled, not with tears of sadness, but with recognition.
With arrival.
With the knowing that some stories don't end, they just change shape. And then, without stage. Direction, without cue. She reached for his hand. He took it, not as a performance, as a truth, and the camera kept rolling, long after the lines ended. Asterisk, asterisk, when the scene was over. No one clapped. No one needed to. It felt like breaking a fast, like rain. After drought, like a promise kept. Anna and Keanu stood quietly as the sun rose higher, painting gold across their shoulders. And then, he whispered the words she would carry with her forever. "You wrote something that healed more than a character." Anna turned to him. "So did you." Asterisk, asterisk. They packed up the gear. They didn't rush. They didn't talk much. But the silence between them was warm now, like an old friend. Wasn't hiding anymore. It was resting as they closed the theater door behind them for the last time. Anna looked back once. It wasn't a goodbye. It was a thank you. Asterisk, asterisk. 2 weeks later they sat, side by side, in a tiny editing room downtown. Just them and a friend, with an old screen and good ears. They watched the film together. Scene by scene, there were moments where the camera shook. Moments where the audio wasn't perfect, but every frame pulsed with heart. Every word landed. Like a step on a long walk home, When the last scene faded to black, no one spoke for several seconds. Then the editor turned to Anna. "What do you want to do with it?" Anna looked at Keanu. He looked back. They didn't need a big release. They didn't need red carpets. They just wanted the story to live. Anna smiled softly. "Upload it," she said. "No trailer, no title cards. Just the film." The editor nodded. "No." Credits. Anna looked at Keanu and said, "Just one line." She opened a document and typed the words slowly. For anyone who ever thought their story was over, it wasn't. Asterisk, asterisk. The film went live at midnight. No one expected it. No press release. No interviews, no studio backing. And yet, by morning, thousands of people had found it. Not because of ads, because of whispers. Because of hearts recognizing truth. People commented in languages from around the world. They talked about scenes. They couldn't forget lines that felt like therapy, moments that felt like their own. They didn't call it a masterpiece. They called it real, and to Anna and Keanu, that was more than enough. Asterisk, asterisk, one day. Weeks later, Anna sat in a quiet bookstore. Sipping tea, a woman approached her, nervous. "I'm sorry," she said, "but I just wanted to thank you. Your film. It reminded me that I still have something to say." Anna smiled. "Then say it." The woman nodded, tears in her eyes. "Thank you for not giving up on the script." Anna looked out the window and whispered, "Thank him. He kept it safe." Asterisk, asterisk in the end. It wasn't about fame. It wasn't about proving anything. It was about reclaiming something they thought they had lost, themselves, their voice, their story. Asterisk, asterisk, months later. Anna opened her drawer and saw the old script. Worn edges faded. Ink dots still whole. She didn't cry. She smiled, because she knew now it had never been just a script. It had been a bridge, and he had carried it when she couldn't.